Good morning, my fellow travelers on Spaceship Earth. It is I, and I am Guy. Do we have like an actual pigeon hanging out there? I am Guy, and this is my buddy, Pigeon. What amazes me is that George is not up here going, hey, there's a bird up here. Well, Pigeon is now gone. All right. We have a paper that's due tomorrow night. And now it looks very much like I've got to deal with a ton of things this evening. And so I won't have time to write my paper this evening. And then tomorrow is Thursday, where I will have something in the morning, something in the afternoon, and something in the evening. So I have until this afternoon to write the paper if it's due tomorrow night. I also have to take my Japanese test, which has to be done before tonight. I've been trying to get all of these things done, but the problem I've got is it is not easy being a single dad and things like that. That is not easy. So here we all are. Running a kid's life is difficult. I keep trying to tell the kid that I wish for them to run their own life. However, that seems to be more complicated than it needs to be for them. Not 100% sure why. All right, so the paper we're going to write is about Felis catus, which is the name of the domestic cat, like George. The domestic George. All right. All right. First instance of grain shows up in Israel, 10,000 years. Likely African wildcat. So, good morning, Brent. Uh, Alrighty. Good morning, Sarge. How are you doing this morning? Do I have any music running at all? Or did it just completely go? No, it doesn't have any music at all. Hey, I like chill hop. Let's do the chill hop. Do the chill hop. Yep. On a cane permanently. That's not good. Sorry to hear that, Sarge. Though it's kind of, I feel like the fate of all of us at some point here. Been thinking about that a lot as I creak and groan getting out of bed every morning. Oh, that's not good. That's not good, my friend. We need to hang out more. I need to have more time. We need to hang out more. Oof, there's no feeling at all below the right knee? Damn. Is that a sciatic problem? Or is that just the femoral nerve? Nerve damage? Oh, probably Agent Orange. Gotcha. Man. That sucks. I think it makes it worse that we did it to you. You know what I mean? That just makes it all worse. That sucks. Wrong place, the wrong time. Yeah, well. Yes, and I'm, I am still allergic to everything, which means I'm coughing like mad. Otherwise, you're doing great. I mean, you're still moving around, so that's good. It's a plus. Yeah, no Firebird. That does make it difficult to drive if if you can't feel your right foot. But they have modifications to vehicles they can make so you can use the gas pedal with your right hand attached to the steering wheel. Huh. Ironically, you can still run a clutch, strangely. Yeah, I can see that. George, I'm in here. Right here. Same place I've always been. I know you're lost. I get it. What are you going to do? You're a lost cat. I get it. George has been having a real problem this morning. He's like lost all the time and wondering where the humans are. And why can't he get scritches? He has like difficulties this morning. It's very difficult. It's been a hard morning for him. Lack of scritches, as you might understand. I'm trying to make sure that we all understand that our problems are nothing compared to his problems of lack of scritches. We need to understand this. All right. I gotta stop capitalizing the genus of animal, Felis catus, and I have to resist going, is your taxonomic nomenclature Felis catus? The question really is, should I, in my report, do the Felis catus? Is your taxonomic nomenclature an endothermic quadruped, carnivorous by nature? Your visual, olfactory, and auditory senses combine to your hunting skills and natural defenses. I find myself intrigued by your subvocal oscillations. In your case, George, they're very vocal. They're not very sub at all. I'm just saying. Singular development of cat communications. Of course, he's talking about purring. See you later, Sarge. I hope you have a a better day. I'm glad you joined us. All right. I'm going to go with Felis sylvestris catus because, technically speaking, I think that's good. I'm doing research on the cat and whether it interfaced with civilization and when and where. All right. Wow. Interesting. Cats can withstand skin temperatures that exceed 52 degrees Celsius. Humans can't exceed 44 degrees Celsius. Interesting. Did I buy a new camera? Oh, you mean for outside? No, it's just I've been making it work better. So originally I had it sitting this way, flat, on the table aiming out, and then I decided that was too difficult because it kept knocking it off the table here. So I taped it to my door. But in order to tape it to my door, I had to turn it sideways. But then I was like, you know what? I'll just rotate this picture. It doesn't hurt. Hang on, make this a lot bigger. I'll make it all the way bigger. I'll just wait. Sources. This daily frame. Let's make it on top of everything. There we go. That way it's, now you can watch outside as the wind blows my trees and stuff like that. But it's mounted sideways now. What's the camera for? I don't know, to look out the window. One of the reasons I like my desk is that I have this big glass door right here, which overlooks this lovely little park in my neighborhood. And I've got like this just nice, lovely little park out there. And it's a nice place to work. I've set so my keyboard is turned this way, so I'm facing the window. So really all it is just so you can see what I'm seeing whenever I look out this window, which is out into this park. So, yeah, I mean, it's got no purpose other than it's a lovely view, so might as well enjoy the view with me. Hey, you're getting a live view of some random spot in Denver, Colorado. You can tell what the weather's like here. Like where are our trees right now? Our trees are still in winter mode, but it's 12 degrees out there, 12 degrees Celsius. So it's nice and warm, and well, it's nice and warm-ish. And, it's a springtime warm. School's going well. I'm doing a paper today. This is why I'm not showing you my screen, because all I've got right now is a text file up. A boring text file. But I've got a paper that's due tomorrow night, and I've got to fix some of the problems that I did. Right? We have the same trees. That's so weird. We might actually discover it. We have the same cats, too. That's what I'm doing my paper on, is cats. So that's an interesting thing. And actually, Ray, depending on your altitude, we actually really might have the same kinds of trees, because Denver has a lot of evergreens. You can see those across the street. Trees that stay green all year round. And so, I mean, we might really legitimately have the same kinds of trees, because you're in a semi-cold, warm climate like we are, where it's not always cold, but it's not always hot either. So I assume, yeah, cats. I don't know. So we in archaeology, we're talking about the class is called Ancient Civilizations, and it's about archaeology, and it's about digging up, old civilizations and sort of making a story. What's the story of what happened? How did these people get here? Why? There's dogs out there. Yeah, the cottonwoods. The cottonwoods make my allergies. I'm very allergic to cottonwoods. Yeah, obviously you have the same problems we do with cottonwoods. Those trees are a menace. A menace, I tell you. They're brutal. All right. So, looks like Felis sylvestris catus is the nomenclature for a cat, a domestic cat. Just your normal, everyday cat. Felis is um, the phylum. Sylvestris is the uh, kingdom. No, phylum or organization, and catus is the subgen genre. Right? Am I doing that right? I don't think I'm doing that right. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. My biology professor has done my biology professor in her lectures has done nomenclature, and I think I've been wanting to screen cap her nomenclature lectures for a while because she put them nicely up on the board and she allows us to watch them later. So all right. Well, no, I mean, I don't know if that's Ray. Did you mean new word for tree, or did you mean new world tree? Well, I mean, to be fair, it looks like the cottonwood might be a North American tree, which might be slightly different than the tree that you've got over there, because it looks like it might only be here. Um, although it does look like there are subspecies in Australia, which would make it sound like to me that there's a oh yeah, it's the black poplar is what it's called over there, which is the same species. Yeah. So the tree is technically called Populus igerios, and that's its nomenclature, as we're discovering right now. In the United States, it's called Populus deltoides. So it's the eastern cottonwood. In the South, it's called Populus fremonti. And in Europe, Asia, and Africa, it's called Populus nigra, or black poplar. So there is the it's still the poplar. They're all called cottonwoods, but yeah, the poplar that's the name of the tree, is poplar. It's just that we have one branch, of tree, and you have another branch, of the tree. But the root is the same. Oh man, that was way too stupid a joke. All right, I'm going into the modules. No, but this is not what I'm looking for. This is not. I like Dritty. I don't even know what to think about that. But works for me. All right, DNA. We went through DNA. Inheritance. Speciation. Microevolution. DNA. Population genetics, osteology. All right. Forensic anthropology. I went through a lot. Huh. Race concepts. Ooh, the untold story of Japan's first people. Talking about the Ainu. Humans, primates. We were just here. Introduction to primates. So what about cats? You're like, why are we doing this with cats? What's the story with cats? So I know that cats have entered into human culture somewhere along the line with there we go. Taxonomic ranks. Yikes. The new taxonomic ranks. All right. Let's look at these ranks real quick. Whee! All right. I'm going to pause this so I can screen cap this. Yes and no. So that's part of the reason that I'm fascinated by this. So, unlike dogs, cats domesticated themselves, which is kind of weird. Like dogs, we domesticated dogs, but we really didn't need cats. And cats pretty much decided we needed them, which is funny. And part of the reason why I'm fascinated by this is because not only did cats domesticate themselves to some degree, they they became part of the culture. For example, the Egyptians, which, they thought cats were gods to some degree. And so, always fascinates me. All right. Yes. So that's the thing. People believe, and of course, we don't have proof of this really per se. We only have sort of anecdotal proof, which means that the proof that we have is kind of pieced together from things that we see around it. Nothing was written that says, one day this cat came here and started becoming my friend. Nobody wrote anything like that. So that we've found so far. So there's no real, like, formed information about it. What we know is that cats started being buried with humans at a certain point about 10,000 years ago. Excuse me. And so they were buried with the humans, and that means that they were living with us. And that's because, really, honestly, what we're talking about here is, we talk about the genetic order of, hang on, I want to grab all of these. I want to grab these anyway because these are useful for my biology class. But she gave these massive layouts for where we exist in the in the order of things, and so I really wanted to bring that up because that's really, really good. So here we go. I'm gonna actually show you guys, because I can show you that. Doesn't bother anybody. Nobody cares if we show these things. Here we go. Because she put the orders up here, and I was like, wow, that's extremely useful. Here we go. And now I will share that screen with you guys. No. There we go. So, if you talk about us, humans, humans live in this order. So you've got, the order is, of course, primates. The semi-order for us is Haplorini, and then we go into Anthropoidea, which is humanoid, and then Catarrhini, and then Hominidea, and then Hominidae, and then so it takes a long time to get down here to Homo, which is us. So about 3,200 years ago, 3,200 years ago, is when they made it up to Eurasia. Or at least that's what we know. So that's what I'm looking at. So I just like this because it shows, like, all the different primates. These are all these primates. All of these are our cousins, if you will. But when you look at all of these are all monkeys, apes, lemurs. All of these are the same setup, same design in body as we are. They're all brachiopods. They are all like, they all swing from trees or hang out in the trees. They all are mammals, you know what I mean? And you kind of look at that and you think, we all exist right here in this one little section right here. Yeah, monkeys kind of freak me out too. So my mom, back in the day, my mom, so my great grandmother had a monkey, and it was named Cecil or Cecil. And one day, my mom was over at my great grandmother's house, because this was her grandmother, and she put her finger towards the monkey's cage, and the monkey reached out, grabbed her finger, pulled it in, and bit the top part of her finger off. She immediately, my mom, and she immediately had to have surgery to have it reattached, because of course it was taken clean off. And when she did, her finger was permanently bent like this. So the middle finger always was bent just a little bit like that. And she had no control over it. She couldn't move it anymore because all of the tendons and everything were damaged. So, I mean, she was fine. It didn't change any part of her life. It affected nothing. But my mom hated monkeys. She hated them. Absolutely hated monkeys. So, early on, there was a TV show in the United States called BJ and the Bear. And it was about a guy who drove a semi-truck. And his buddy was a chimpanzee named Bear. And Mom worked on that show. And she hated being around, the monkey's name was Sam. And she hated being around Sam. Because to her, she was worried that it was a monkey that was going to chew on her finger. But she had an irrational fear of the monkey, which was not funny, just interesting, I'm not saying that, they have an evil that only a primate can possess. You aren't wrong. You're not wrong, my friend. You are not wrong at all. I'm also going to look to see if she gave us slides for the assignments in here. Because she had a she's trying to get us to look at the taxonomy. Taxonomy is the name of the science of filing all of us, all the animals on Earth, is called taxonomy. And that's the science name. So the fact that we are Homo sapiens, that's the taxonomy for humans. What's really interesting is, one of the things that I think is most telling is we are Homo sapiens. I'm a Homo sapien. Ray is a Homo sapien. People in Africa are Homo sapiens. Japanese are Homo sapiens. It's interesting that in all of taxidermy is similar. I mean, because it is the effective, because the taxi taxi part is not about a taxi that you drive. That part means to order or to organize. Taxidermy is to organize the skin, because dermy is dermis for skin, right? Brent, on the other hand, is not a Homo sapien. He's a xenosapien. Anyway, taxonomy is the order of everything, but I think it's fascinating to me that I am a Homo sapien, Ray is a Homo sapien, some user is a Homo sapien, Japanese people are Homo sapien. You know what I mean? Like, all of these differences that we see in each other means nothing to our biology. Our biology, we are all the same. And that, I think, is something that means a lot. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter whether you live in Sweden or on the Mongolian steppe or Kansas or Denver. Like, all of us are the same. And that is important to me, I think, more than anything. I always kind of feel like it should be that way. You know what I mean? Like, we should remember that we're all the same family. Meiosis, no. Inheritance, DNA, no. Alleles, no. Pedigrees, pedigrees means something completely different in biology. It's interesting. There's an entire chapter that she did, which was, "Are we all related?" We're all from one very, very, very thin. You're part French? That's it. Ray's out. What? I'm French? That's it. I'm out. Right? I've been all over the world and parts of Kentucky. I have been to Kentucky as well. I'm just going to say they're not wrong. Anthropological genetics. I feel like we were doing bones. It's like introduction to osteology. Was it introduction to osteology? Where she was doing the skeletal biology. Yeah, there we go. She did a great example of anterior and posterior, and I just heard somebody join. But it's Pepper. Hey, Pepper.
Hello.
We're doing osteology, man. Just saying.
Okay.
You can't stop us. Well, I mean, you could stop us, but no.
I mean, it's osteology.
Bones. I'm doing scientific stuff. I've got a paper due. And so, but my...
On human bones this time, or?
Yeah, human bones. But it's actually, what I'm doing is, it's on cats. I just need to get my taxonomy correct. So I'm fixing my taxonomy, which is what we're doing now. But since I'm here, I'm saving some of the other things I wanted to save too, which was, trying to get this kind of straightened out. So, how are you doing, Pepper?
Wondering if you're actually studying tabaxi bones, which are bones of humanoid cats?
So, Wasn't my battle plan, but could.
No. I just have really weird thought process moments. I have a liver doctor appointment later, and then I have another doctor appointment later. So
Oh, okay. That works. So you're here visiting with us because you love us.
Yeah.
It's really what it boils
I'm
down.
reading comments from some users. Sorry.
There you go.
Okay, French war songs. Okay. And oh, okay. Sweden songs. Cool. Songs. So, if you were talking, you don't have to like stop on my account.
No. I'm
Just join.
not. I'm just poking around and looking at things here.
Hey Ray. What exactly in the chat were you guys talking about? I'm hearing like
So, I was saying that by taxonomal nomenclature, we are really very at the very bottom of this massive tree of primates, right? I mean, like there are all kinds of monkeys and apes and lemurs and genus Homo is really at the very, 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 very bottom. And we're all like this little piece of this massive tree. And I was like, it really kind of brings home that we're all just one species. It doesn't matter whether you're in Sweden, as some user is, or whether you're on the Mongolian steppe like Ray is, or whether you're in Kansas like Brent is, or whether you're here in Denver like you and I are. We're all the same species. We're all the same people, so to speak.
okay.
And it really makes me see that clearly. And it's a big deal for me because I believe firmly that we're all the same family and it doesn't matter where you're from. And, you know, that's been one of my firm beliefs forever. And Ray was making jokes about, you know, what? I'm the same as the French people? No! And, you know, making jokes like that. So that's where this is all going. And then some user was like, I've been all over the world, including Kentucky, you know, and like stuff like that. It's like, just we've been making all these statements that are kind of funny about this. So that's where this is all coming from. So it's just been an ongoing, we've been having fun with this particular statement, you see. That's all. We're running unsupervised. You have shown up and now you've supervised us. But I don't think you're really the kind to tell us to behave, so we're going to continue to be unsupervised.
Okay.
You could just join us. So that's where we are.
Yep. Hello, everyone. Well, I mean, if I want to add to the chaos, I may not look it, but I'm secretly Asian. No, I'm just joking. Actually, no, technically that is true. It is a technicality. I am not 100% white. And I have DNA. I have DNA results to remind myself of that.
Well, that's actually what I was saying that is so fascinating to me. It doesn't matter whether you're African from the middle of the African savanna or European or Asian. According to genus Homo, we're all the same.
Well, right.
And it's all because
that is correct. I mean,
yeah.
When I got my DNA results, first of all, they didn't have a big enough pool to actually state where I was from one of my backgrounds.
Sure.
And I was just like, this is not possible that I don't have any of this type of genetic pool because my mom is half of this. Like, I know my mom is half of this. Like, her father is first generation born from this country. Yada, yada, yada. But they took his DNA and actually put it into context of Catalonia, northern Italy, southern Italy, Greece, Turkey, and like a whole bunch of other things. And so I had to request 23andMe redo my results when they get a better, broader pool of people.
Right.
And that's when that's when they went into, we can say within like 90% of ratio of like, of matching. Yeah. So there you go. And the only thing that didn't change was my non-white heritage. That's it. So I also got a map on how my family possibly like went throughout the world too. I don't know if anyone else has done this with 23andMe, but basically they showed my family coming from sub-Sahara Africa, going up into the Middle East, and then going over to the Asian continent, and then traveling back through Eastern Europe into Europe, and then Northern Italy, and then going up directly like through France into the British and Ireland area. They don't sell your gene details to the government in this country. 23andMe is actually the only one that will make you sign if you want your DNA posted publicly. For people for research. I have genetic issues, so basically I said, well, any genetic issue, they're allowed to share my DNA for the genetic studies. But that's it. Like, they have to ask me personally, and I've actually had to say no a few times for certain studies. They don't sell it to you without your knowledge, is what I'm trying to say. That's 23andMe. Ancestry.com, completely different story. They destroy your evidence. They destroy your sample usually. Yeah.
So, interestingly enough, though, I mean, back to some of the things that I often say, it's not as useful as you think it is to have all of our genetic information.
Well, no, it's not. But the one thing that I do like about my genetic issues that are being studied is I have certain genes for certain parts of the body that they don't know what they're for.
Well, there are a lot of genes that we don't know what they're for. I mean, that was actually one of the things we just went through in biology class was
because
despite the fact that we've got all the genetic information for all of these proto-primates, we have no earthly idea what they were doing or what that gene was for, so we can't determine whether we took that gene or not because of this reason or that reason or some other reason.
Because I believe one of my genomes are being used to see, because I discovered I have a heart defect, and so they're going through my genes that are related to the heart that they normally see around, like regulating the heart, to see if I have a variant that caused it. Like, that's the stuff that I'm talking about.
Yeah. I'm just saying that...
Is that someone trying to join?
No. That's me screen capping all of these things in my biology class. She did an entire my professor did an entire thing on proper um, proper identification of scientific locations, like parietal, distal, all of those terms which we need to use so that whenever you're talking about things, you know, like dorsal and things like that, so that you know that you're talking about different. Like she was talking about the cardinal directions on a human, the medial, the lateral, the posterior, anterior, distal, proximal, superior, inferior, all of the terminologies. So I wanted to screen cap all of those and put them in my folder.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean the things about genetic stuff is that it's not as clear cut as we're discovering all this time. Because the truth of the matter is, Hitler believed a lot of things, but it's hard to continue to maintain that belief system when faced with the genetic information. So you're not going to use the genetic information if you're going to believe like Hitler did. Because it'd be kind of like using airplanes to prove that we can't fly. You know what I mean? Like, it's once you get into the DNA, you start realizing we're all just a mishmash and a mix of DNA going all over the place. So you can't really say, X type of people are superior because they're all spread all over the place, as Pepper was just talking about, where his DNA's all over the place.
Yeah.
And like my DNA's all over the place too. And just the nature of things. I've got DNA from all over, even though I am like, when we got my DNA tested, I am almost exclusively a European family that came to America in like the 1700s and stayed very rigidly together with their little community the entire time until like the 1950s. So like I am about as direct Scottish as it gets, because it was a Scottish family that came over to America in the 1700s, one of the founding American colonies, and stayed in their little Scottish group, only intermixing with Germans. It's the only people we intermixed with, apparently. But genetically speaking, it's pretty straight up Scottish. But then you get later on, and as we get into the 1900s, things start to get really kind of hairy as to where the genes start to mix.
Well, then in the 1950s, you guys realized that you couldn't be inbred anymore. So
yeah, right, exactly. By that point,
I joke about this, but this is a very real thing.
It's a real problem.
It is a very real thing.
But one of the things that they were saying was that that's actually relatively rare.
What, inbreeding? Or
no, being making it difficult to have only one specific line. Like it's not common, especially with Americans, because we are really mixed as a culture, because we're young. This is a relatively young nation, and it's a young country, and so we had a lot of people moving into this country, and relatively recently, as opposed to when you start looking in areas like in Europe, where some user is, those countries have been around for a very, very long time. And especially when you look out onto the Asian steppe, where, say, for example, Ray is, they've been there for a very, very, very long time. And so, their genetic code is pretty stable, but American code is all over the place.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like we're everywhere.
For the most part, my family was doing. For the most part, from my understanding, from the way that it's all planned out, my family the way that it goes is we left one place, went to another place, and we were we always traded goods and stuff. So we went wherever the market was flowing the best monetarily. That's basically how it was explained to me. Because the route that my family possibly took, like, we possibly married other people just because we wanted certain business deals to go through in one part of my family.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the case on how I have Korean ancestry. Which is not uncommon for the time period that they were saying that it happened. So yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. There are places now that are actually. I found it really interesting. There are places in that have low genetic diversity, like you're talking about, some user, that are actually asking people to come to their places of living to diversify it.
Yeah.
They're asking people to come.
Yeah, but we are beyond the pale of what I'm doing here with this work. Yep.
Well. I mean, the ethics of monogamy is, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it would be nice. I mean, I think my husband would love to benefit with another husband, but I think we're pretty good just being with each other.
Yeah, but I think that Ray is referring to the fact that staying monogamous in your race.
No,
you're doing fine. I'm just saying that where we're going about, like, very small ethnics like that was exactly the opposite of what I was discovering in the very beginning, or discussing in the very beginning of this discussion, which was effectively genus Homo is all the same. All of us.
I mean, technically okay, so I just want to comment, and so segueing into this delayed topic, just to let you know, there's a delay on the video, but we actually see your messages come through prior to the video response. Just to let you know.
Yep.
We have a side one when we're watching, and it has all of your comments. And so when they come up first there for us, and then for the video streaming process, they come up second.
Yep.
But yeah. Anyways, that kind of broke my mental place where I was at before, so we're good. All right.
Yeah, all I was saying was we're all the same. Which is funny, because then we went on like this, how we're all different. And I'm like, well,
yeah. Well, no, sorry. I didn't mean to say it like that.
I know. I'm like,
we wouldn't be able to actually have children with other heritages and nationalities if we weren't all the same.
Yep, that's what it really boils down to, is we can interbreed, but that means that we have not diversified far enough.
Yeah.
We have not diversified far enough that we can't interbreed anymore, which is what's really interesting to me.
Yeah. So, Ray, what I was saying before, when I was segueing, you guys were talking about there's a delay. Is it a delay in your responses? Because I mean, what I was trying to say is your guys' responses come up first in a sidebar for us, and then they go onto the video if you're not seeing them like immediately.
I have 2 more unessays left in this class.
Gotcha. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. No, that's fine. We yeah, like I'm trying to keep up with you guys too, so it's
Yeah.
right.
And I'm not worried. This is
Oh, you want to know what you were? Okay.
oh, you were zoned out. Yeah, no, it's totally fine. I wouldn't worry about the delay, both of you guys. This is a very engaged stream, like usually. Usually streams, I guess, don't have to worry too much about the delay, but we have to worry a little bit about the delay because we're all having a really cool, interesting discussion. And it's fascinating, but it's also semi-real time. However, Pepper and I have been doing this now for a year or two. So we're kind of used to the delay and used to kind of responding to these things as they kind of trickle in.
Come in.
So I'm not worried.
Yeah.
Nor should you be.
So anyway, I was going through old artwork, like you do occasionally.
Like you do.
Because I'm trying to think of stuff to do, stuff to draw, and I came across this little ditty.
That's an interesting ditty.
It's Vampira with Betty Page that I did, I want to say, in 2018.
Okay.
And then in 2019, I kind of redid it with this one.
Right. Still using Vampira and Betty Page because you're still on that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I'm going to do a third one.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah.
I'm on board with this plan.
So I have a 12 by 12 canvas right now that I need to put something on.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
I am going to continue to research this and look up things for cats. Yeah, I mean, so
you're correct in the old racist stuff.
What generally happens biologically is this. If you are close but not quite the same genus or the same order, sometimes they can interbreed, but they make something that cannot reproduce. It's sterile. So, for example, horses and donkeys? Horses and donkeys are close enough that they can breed, but the children they create, mules, are sterile. They cannot breed. So it's the same thing. Lions and tigers can breed together and create kittens, but the kittens are all sterile. A liger cannot actually produce offspring. So you can only have one generation of liger. You can only have one generation of mule. However, and this is what is interesting, Felis sylvestris catus, which is the genus of house cat, is close enough to Felis sylvestris lycia, which is the African wildcat, that they can breed and produce kittens that are fertile. So they're not far enough apart to be actually considered scientifically two different breeds. Technically speaking, the African wildcat is still the same as, scientifically speaking, it's the same as the domestic house cat. And the only reason that they're separate is because all of the taxonomy was created in the 1700s when people really did think they were two different species. But now, scientifically, using DNA, we're discovering they're not. They're the same exact species. They can interbreed. They can do all these things together, and everything is fine. You can release a domestic house cat in the African wild, and it will be just fine. It will go and live its life because it's not any different than the African wildcat.
Yeah, I want to kind of expand on this question a little bit. So, because apparently people have experimented with this. Pregnancy is rare, but can occasionally occur naturally.
Wait, what are you talking
about? As well as through embryo transfer for female mules to have children.
Oh.
It is rare.
I'm like, you're behind. I'm still talking about cats.
Yeah. But one thing I found out about looking this up is a cross between a male horse and a female donkey is called a hinny. And a female horse with a male donkey is known as a mule.
Alrighty.
Yeah. And then it goes into an article. I guess they did a study in China and they found, during that study, they found a female mule that was fertile, that could have kids, and a female hinny that was able to have children. Not with but the males, no. This is just females.
Right.
And that goes into another case study that I looked at after looking up a certain cat breed. Getting back to cats. So there is a cat breed that got really, really popular in movies because they're trainable, they're very dog-like, and they are a cross between a African wildcat and a domestic cat.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. DNA-wise.
Hold on. Before you go where your thing is, basically every single time they produced a male offspring with the crossbreed, the males were always infertile. Like, they couldn't produce any children. Females, however, could get pregnant again.
You're talking about wildcat breeds?
Wildcat and domestic cat, yep.
Felis libica with Felis catus?
Yes. And so eventually they basically made this cat breed. I think it's like the Bengal cat, the Bengal domestic Bengal cat. It was in The Cat from Outer Space. Hold on.
Felid hybrids.
Yeah.
Is any number of hybrids between various species of the cat family Felidae. Hybrids between two species of the genus Panthera. For hybrids between two species of the genus Panthera, which is lions, tigers, jaguars, and leopards, those are known as Panthera hybrids. There are no known hybrids between Neophelis, which is the clouded leopard, and any other genre.
They're called Abyssinian cats.
So domestic.
That's the breed I'm talking about.
Oh, it's because, there are a number of felid hybrids.
Yeah, because basically what it was they kept breeding the breedable females in the cat within the offspring. They kept breeding the cats more and more with the domestic male cat until they got the Abyssinian cat, which basically, by the third generation, males could reproduce as well as females.
We've got this fascinating chart that just showed up on here. Let me show this. I'll share this. This is a fascinating chart on which ones of the breed Felis cat or of the breed Felis or Felinidae.
Mm-hmm.
So from 11 million years ago, which is right here, that's when the clouded leopard and the lions and the tigers and the jaguars, they branched out from the rest of the cats.
Yeah.
So by the time we hit 9 million years ago, we already had two distinct races. I know, it really does. It sounds like I'm casting some spell in some Harry Potter flick. But we've got like all of these guys then stayed the same up until 6 million years ago when they broke into the clouded leopard and then the leopard, lion, jaguar, tiger, and snow leopard. What's interesting is you cannot interbreed with the snow leopard or the clouded leopard, but you can with the regular leopard. Who knew?
Because they are the base of their splint off.
Right. But I mean, like, that's interesting. Inside here is the same thing. So
yeah, because they bring mountain lions.
A caracal and a serval makes a cervical.
Yeah.
But those two can actually breed together.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do any of these cats together, all the way to leopard, if you do a puma and a leopard, you get a puma pard. That's funny. I love these names that you get. Like, these all are like theoretical. Like, theoretically, they've breeded a jungle cat with a bobcat, but nobody's got proof of that. And a bobcat with a domestic cat, but nobody's got proof of that.
A bobcat with a... Oh, hold on. I need to back you up. Bobcat with a domestic cat? Yes, has happened, and they are in Florida. And I have seen them.
Well, it says anecdotal only, so...
They basically, Florida law, if your cat is outside in heat and
right,
gives birth to huge kittens that are not normal size for a domestic cat, as they grow up, they strictly have to be declawed and defanged.
Okay.
That is why most people think they're Maine Coons, because they're so big. But what I'm talking about is basically these cats look like a long-tailed bobcat.
Long-tailed bobcat.
They're just not as big as a bobcat.
So we're going to do SA3. I'm going to save this.
Sorry, I didn't mean to. I'm just
looking up stuff. So here's the thing. I am making a scientific paper. I can't do anything without citing a source, so I'm okay with anything. I just need to be able to cite the source. So that's all. So let's see. Cervical and caracal and several hybrids, which makes a caraval. Bobcat and lynx. European wildcat and the jungle cat. The Euro chouse is a human-induced hybrid between the European wildcat, which is sylvestris, not sylvestris. Sylvestris? Oh, and the jungle cat species, which is Felis chas. This is not to be confused with the Euro Chauci, which is a cross between the domestic Chauci and the European wildcat. Oh my god, there's so many of these.
Yeah. It's a rabbit hole.
It is. Now I'm like looking at all these things. Confirmed domestic cat felid hybrids. The Bengal is a domestic cat plus an Asian leopard cat. That makes
Yep.
sense. The Bristol is a domestic cat and a margay,
Hmm.
but it died out in the 1990s due to fertility problems. The few
Yeah,
remaining
because in
turtle
order to
members
make
would be
more,
bred into Bengal breeds to improve its genetic diversity.
yeah,
And then the Caracat was the domestic cat plus the caracal.
Mhm.
Chowsy is the domestic cat plus the jungle cat. And the Calis cat is the naturally occurring Landris. Landris, domestic cat, and Scottish wildcat. Wow, this is right. Not only do we have Florida man, but now there's Florida cat. Just saying. Attempted or unconfirmed? Okay. Domestic cat plus bobcat. There are reports of bobcats breeding with domestic cats, but evidence of the offspring remains circumstantial and anecdotal. So you're probably right, and it's just that nobody's been able to catch one of them and
Mhm.
pin them down and genetically do all the things, and you know. So
Yeah.
like, it's not saying you're wrong. It's saying nobody's been able to classify it, which doesn't
Yeah.
mean that it doesn't exist.
Yeah, because essentially I knew a couple in Florida where their cat mysteriously got pregnant
Right.
after it got out one day. And none of their neighbors, and they don't have stray cats in their neighborhood. None of their neighbors have cats that would go out, that sort of deal. So when she came back pregnant, they were like, well, maybe it was just a cat that they'd never seen before.
Mm-hmm.
Then their neighbors said that there was a bobcat that was roaming around. Okay, well, gestation period later, their mama cat gave birth to only 2 kittens, and she was big enough to have like 4 or 5.
Right.
So when the kittens came out, now kitten babies are only like the palm of my hand size when
Right.
they're first born. Her kittens were from fingertip all the way down to the bottom of my palm.
Right.
So, like, these babies were bigger, and I've met these cats, and all I have to say is when you look at them, they're scary looking. They look like they will pounce on you and, like, rip out your larynx.
Yep.
But when that happens, Florida law, again, interjects. Their nails are always declawed. Or they're,
you won't tear out your larynx.
yeah, and they are physically defanged, not so that they don't have to hurt anyone,
Right.
or not don't, but can't. So
Bobcat and a lynx makes a blinks.
I like that name.
Right.
However, if you reverse who the mother and father is, isn't it a different name?
I don't know. I'm looking through it.
Hmm. Just think of all the tabaxi that you can figure out.
I know, right? I'm like,
research.
this is so wild. There are a lot of little teeny cats.
Oh yeah,
A lot more than I thought. Like, it's interesting because, like, I'm looking through here. I mean, I knew about things like the ocelot, but I had no idea about a margay. A margay is a small wild cat native to Central and South America. It's nocturnal, and it lives in primarily evergreen and dioecious forests. And so I'm like sitting there going, that's some pretty heavy machinery. It just went by there. I'm like, well, that's a thing.
Have you ever looked up the deadliest hunter cat?
Well, I mean, I'm sure our cats are pretty serious because, like, the domestic house cat is one of the most dangerous animals in our society because they're killing all of the things out there, mice and birds, and
Okay. So these
the word bobcats is construction vehicles.
Okay, so the cat I am referring to is known as the black-footed cat. They are more successful at hunting than lions. They can eat 14 nights per night, 14 meals per night, and they eat about 3,000 rodents a year. And they are smaller than a domestic cat.
Yeah.
And so essentially they look cute and innocent, but they will hurt you. So it's one of those moments of when you see them in the wild, you go, oh, isn't that a cute cinnamon roll? But that will kill you.
Right. So the African wildcat, it's saying specifically that the domestic cat is a descendant of the African wildcat and has been hybridized with several wild felid species. So, in other words, they're calling them effectively the same thing here in this article, which is Felis lybica. When we're talking about Felis catus and Felis lybica, they're referring to them as pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
Because what it's saying is, anytime they have been bred together, they're usually called feral-domestic hybrids. But this is a misnomer because feral is not a proper distinction in animals.
Right.
It refers to whether it's been domesticated, but that doesn't mean anything because you can have there's no genetic difference between feral, let's say, feral horses and domesticated horses. Genetically, they're the same. So it's not a proper scientific distinction. So what they're kind of saying here is the African wildcat and Felis catus are pretty much the same critter. It's just that one of them is construed as feral and one is construed as domestic, but that doesn't mean anything, like scientifically. So it then talks about lybica and catus breeding with other breeds like the Bengal. Wow, those coats are pretty. So if you take a Bengal cat, that's crossing an Asian leopard cat with a domestic cat, especially the spotted Egyptian Mau. And it's usually bred with a breed that demonstrates a friendlier personality. So you end up with this derived cat that has these beautiful spots, but is a normal domestic cat.
Yeah.
So then the Bristol is that domestic cat plus a Margay, but they had fertility problems and died out. And then the Carrot cat was a caracal plus a domestic cat. Since caracals are medium-sized wild cats, they look more like your classical leopard because they're in the middle. They're not cats. It doesn't look like a cat. It looks like a leopard or, one of the larger cats. But apparently there has been interbreeding between those, which happened in the Moscow Zoo in 1998. The Chausi is a jungle cat mixed with a domestic cat. And the jungle cat also looks like a cat.
Yeah.
So it's a medium sized, but it looks like a cat. Whereas the Kellis cat is a large black cat found in Scotland. And the Scottish wildcat looks like a tabby. Like a big tabby, but a tabby. You get the fishing cat. Is a medium-sized wildcat of South and Southeast Asia. Has deep and yellowish gray fur with black lines and spots. Wow. Head to body length of 57 to 78 centimeters. That's a pretty big cat. They weigh 8 to 17 kilos. Males do, with females averaging 5 to 9 kilos. Wow. That's a big cat. And I thought it was bad when George jumped down on my chest while I was sleeping from the shelf. That was brutal. I don't know if I'd want something weighing in at 17 kilos jumping on me in the middle of the night. A sand cat. Aw, it's got a very round face, which makes it super cute. I'm sure it's super dangerous. Just because anytime you have, they're super cute, and then it's like, and they killed everything. Well, yeah, there you go. But there's apparently a sand cat and a domestic cat called a margaret, which makes it even better in Latin because it becomes Felis margarita. I'm never going to let that one go. Oh boy, that's funny. I don't know why I find that so funny. Anyway. So, some user is saying Bobcat's forever associated with construction vehicles. And I think the funniest part about that whole thing is, not only is that true, but like the word cat is printed on all of the Caterpillar construction vehicles. So you sort of get the feeling of like just even the name cat sometimes comes across as a construction vehicle.
Oh yeah. I mean, I grew up in the construction world. So for me, everything I would hear an office, and one of the office conversations I remember is some guy coming in. My dad was I think either working with someone or he was the head person. I can't remember. The guy comes in and he's like, "We need a new cat." And my automatically the response was, "What happened to the old cat that we had?"
Right.
And he goes,
"What happened to Bob? I like my cat."
The cat that we have is shot. The hydraulics just shut down.
You shot our cat?
Yeah, and so if you didn't know what this conversation was talking about, within the context, you would basically be like, "What type of cat do you have that has hydraulics?"
Right. Well, I mean, technically all cats are somewhat hydraulic.
Yeah. But yeah, they shortened Bobcat to cat. That's what they were talking about, because this was not a very large construction site. They were using a Bobcat to move and maneuver debris from a renovation. And yeah, the hydraulics on the front part of it, which brought the thing up and scooped things up, died. For all intents and purposes. So they had to get a new one. So there you go.
Current taxonomy tends to treat Felis sylvestris, Felis libica, and Felis catus, and Felis beatae as different species. but a 2007 study of feline mitochondrial DNA and microsatellites of approximately 1,000 cats from many different regions all over the world showed that there are 5 genetic lineages of wildcat. And that is Felis sylvestris, which is Europe, Felis sylvestris beati, which is China.
And now you know where Sylvester gets his name.
Yep, Felis sylvestris ornata, which is Central Asia, and Felis sylvestris caffra, which is Southern Africa, and then Felis sylvestris libica, which is Middle East.
Mm-hmm.
Which the Middle Eastern one looks like it's pure, because that's coming straight from the libica, Felis libica,
Mm-hmm.
which makes it the direct dropout of that. That's fascinating to me, because because Felis libica is the African wildcat.
Yeah.
And then you have Felis sylvestris libica.
Gotcha.
It's all fascinating to me. International Society for Endangered Cats in Canada, working for smaller wildcats. The African wildcat, Felis libica, is the size of a large house cat. They have slightly longer legs than the domestic cat, giving them a more upright posture and the sitting position and a different walking form. Oh yeah. We are most certainly programmed. I'm not going to disagree with that one. You are right there.
Okay. Well, we are almost at your
Run out time.
And I'm being reminded I actually have to do something. So I will talk to you later.
Well, you're going to bow out. All right. Well, that's all right. We've been studying for Felis catus, domestic catus lycus. You've learned more about cats in the last 2 hours than you probably ever needed in your entire life. You're welcome.
Yes. One last thing, though, I would like to say: don't look up sexual organs of cats. It's a horrifying. It's a horrifying thing.
You don't need to know.
All right.
You don't need to know.
See you all later.
Bye. All right, now it's just us. So it looks like somebody did quite a bit on this. More than I thought. There's a lot of data on here. Sorry. Right? I'm actually secretly sending out spells. I need like a magic wand or something whenever I do this. problem is that's not my standard. That's not my geekiness. I'm not geeky in Harry Potter. I'm geeky in all kinds of other things, but I can readily within seconds produce a phaser, but I cannot seem to produce like a magic wand. So, there's that. But I do have a hand phaser. I mean. Oh, man. Entertainingly, it's not the only hand phaser I can produce. Like, I even have a dolphin. So. Right? I like my dolphin. I'm surprised the batteries still work. My medical tricorder. I don't know if my medical tricorder still works. It doesn't. Oh, it's because there's no batteries in here. That explains why my medical tricorder doesn't work. But I got a medical tricorder. I wonder if my communicator still works. No. Communicator's dead. Oh, communicator's not just dead. Somebody did not remember to take the batteries out. So the communicator's all goobered up. Oh, man. Ooh, doggy. That's going to take some effort. That medical thing. Oh, man. I should have done that a long time ago. So, I like to collect not just the spaceships. It is toxic. It is very toxic. Here's why. I will go wash my hands. But, as you might imagine, I'm sitting here going, why did I do this to myself? Oh, well. Usually when I park my props for a long period of time, I tend to pull their batteries out so that they won't do this. But I apparently did not do that. This is my favorite phaser from Star Trek. This is the Phaser 2B. But it has a button that works, but none of the actual internals work. But I like the Phaser 2B. I've always liked this one. This one's the best of the lot in my book. And of course, I have a Discovery era phaser, which sort of is got all the pieces, but it does have a removable phaser 1. Just have to remember how to pull that phaser 1 out. It's this button right here. No, not the trigger on the side. There's no release for the phaser 1. Anyway, it's the phaser from Discovery. And then there's my dolphin. My dolphin I should probably, so that it won't do the same thing as the other one, I should probably pull its batteries too. So, in my dolphin, I don't know. This guy's kind of a different kind of critter too. Where's the battery power port for that? Is it just under here? I guess it's under there. We'll get to it. And this is how I don't. And then from a TV show from a long time ago. This is from Space 1999. This is one of their weapons. I love this weapon. This is just cool. Anyway, there you go. A tour of my weird weapons locker. Just saying. I have a weird weapons locker. Maybe I'm not like the other Americans. I don't have an actual pistol in here. I have a whole bunch of phasers. Starting to feel like I'm, not doing my part as an American citizen. Right. I don't know what that number is, so hang on real quick, guys. Sorry about that, guys. We are having a problem at school, oddly. So, the problem that we're running into at school is that they have decided all of a sudden that I haven't a degree, except that that doesn't help because now that they have decided my degree is valid after 15 years of my degree not being valid, it has put me in the worst of all positions because now, with a previous bachelor's degree, all of my help and assistance from the state is gone because the state does only helps you get your first degree. Well, I'm still suffering from the effects of not having a degree. So it's not valid in the real world, but apparently now it's suddenly valid when it comes to the college. And that means that we have a problem with that brewing. And that was one of the people from my college calling to say, look, we can figure this out. We're going to figure this out. We just got to somehow do this. I'll give you the people you need to work with on this. So that's where we are. So anyway, I need to get going because now we need to do this, and I'm putting this in here. Saving all this stuff. I'm going to go on ahead and get going. I'm sorry to put you on hold and then go, but obviously things are starting to kind of roll in. So I will talk to everybody later. Thanks for joining me today. It's been a good show. I hope to see you all later on. And as always, keep your eyes on the stars. Goodbye.